Hi everyone, Diana Rankin here with your messages for November the 11th to the 17th, along, along with Daisy here, who's wanting to say hello as well. We're going to have a few predictions, but I also want to start with some other things. By the way, I want to tell you November 11th is really exciting for me because it's my birthday, and I love that it's Armistice Day. It's now known in the U.S. as Veterans Day, but I still think of it as Armistice Day because it was the day of 11/11, and I think it was 1918 when the armistice to end World War I was signed. And so I think of 11/11 as a day of peace. And this year I get to share my birthday with the people in Sacred Path 2018. I can't think of anything I'd rather be doing on my birthday than sharing my birthday with the folks in that workshop. By the way, registration is open for the Sacred Path. It is 2019, and this year it is a coming to consciousness. We're going to look at different spiritual expressions and allow that to help us heal old patterns and create new patterns that take our life to its new level. It's also a community of people who bond together and just learn to love each other and help each other on their spiritual path. So it's like the ancient mystery schools where the teachers would pass along the knowledge and information to help people on their spiritual path. So if you would care to join us, please give me a call, or I believe the 2019 brochure is up on the up on my webpage. If not, I'll make sure it gets up there. But that's what I get to do for my birthday on Sunday, and I'm excited about it. I also happen to know someone's bringing cupcakes. Thank you. That's the happiness that I'm feeling, and I want to say we're going to have to find joy and happiness wherever we can. This isn't going to be the easiest week. It hasn't been, has it? We are in a time in the history of our world, and especially of the U.S., a time of turmoil, and the turmoil this week is going to increase. Thursday morning, I woke up to another mass shooting in the U.S. Another white man took the lives that he had no right to take. Only a week or so ago, it seems like, that 11 people were killed in a synagogue, and before that 2 people were killed because of the color of their skin. You know, we have one of the young women in whom I know and has studied with me. Her sister and aunt were in Las Vegas in that shooting, and I'm sure that every time there's another mass murder, that everyone who's been in any of these horrific events, it all comes up again. So we're working toward sensible gun control. Honestly, I cannot imagine why anybody would be against sensible gun control. How can anybody say, I'd rather have my gun than save the lives of these young people who are being killed? And speaking of young people, I want to say thank you to the Parkland students. These young people took a horrific event that they lived through, and they are turning it into something that will help other young people and all humanity. They're working toward sensible gun laws. We don't have sensible gun laws in this country, and we must get them. And if you're listening and you're a gun owner, nobody's trying to take your gun away from you. If you want that kind of fear and energy in your life, okay, but keep it where it belongs. And don't allow your right to own a gun supersede my right and the right of young people to be safe. That said, I want to say we're very happy that Ruth Bader Ginsburg is back at work. She had a fall and broke a couple of ribs, and we're so grateful you're back at work. Thank you. This week, there is rumor that Donald Trump Jr. will be indicted. Good chance, real good chance. The elections are over, and I think we'll see more indictments come down before the investigation is either money is taken away from it or it's shut down. I think we're going to be seeing some indictments come down this week, and I think some of the bigger people. You know, it's come out that he lied to Congress. I believe it was Congress he lied to. You know, I'm thinking of that, and I'll tell you, my mind is so much on one more death, one more mass shooting that doesn't have to happen. Every day, we as human beings make a choice. Do we want to live in love or do we want to live in fear? And if you have a gun because it's going to save your life, or you think you've got some hero complex that it's going to save someone else's life, I'm sorry, that's living in fear. If you want to have a gun, fine. That's up to you. Enough said. All right? Enough said. I'm just so heartbroken. We're also having another round of horrific fires on the West Coast, and this isn't going to stop. What's happening in the earthquakes and the lava flows and the wildfires is this anger erupting. The same thing with strong winds, with the tornadoes and the earth, the patterns. The earth is shaking it off. There's too much anger. And it's very, very important that each of us keep ourselves safe, because this week, again, we're going to see a lot of uprising. You know, years ago, my husband and I were in London, and we had just come from the theater, and we were having a bite to eat, and the couple beside us heard us talking and said, "You're Americans?" We said, "Yes." And so the four of us started up a conversation. And the gentleman said that he gets to America a lot. He named several different cities. And he said, "But I fly in, I take my taxi directly to the company I'm working with. I take the taxi back to the hotel, I spend the night, and I get back on the plane as soon as I can." I said, "Oh, guys, you should," you know, I looked at the wife. I said, "You should come along. There's so many wonderful things to see in America." And he put his hand on his wife and he said, "It's too dangerous. It's too dangerous. You have too many guns." That was back in the 1980s. The 1980s. It's gotten worse. And the problem is the people with the guns are the radicals. And the people, the majority of Americans, I still believe, are in the center, are moderate left or moderate right, but basically moderate. And what we have now are two extremes fighting each other. We also have a president in power who doesn't know how to be presidential. He doesn't recognize, he can't be a moral leader because he's not a moral person. And so we have all of this in going on. And so how do we live our lives in grace and grit? And I think those two words are important. Grace and grit. How do we create a better world? Well, forgive my anger today. Forgive my sadness. I am upset about all that's going on. But that's what I have to work on. Each of us individually have to change our energy. That's the only way we can change the world. So we have to work on our energy to be calm, to live in grace as much as we can. We have to change our energy to live in that love, those acts of love, but also that energy. Now, what am I talking about when I talk about energy? You can do this with a friend. You mirror each other's hands. You can do it with yourself. It's easier to do with a friend, and we always do this. I show this all over the place when I'm talking to groups. But what I want you to do is, again, mirror each other's hand. And if you do it for yourself, it's a little bit harder, but you can do it. And just start bringing your hands together. Now, you might get this close, you might be this far apart, but you'll feel something. Some people get this close before they feel something. Energy workers will probably feel it more out here. And what you'll feel, it may be a resistance, like there's a little sponginess there. It may be heat. Again, with energy workers, you're probably going to feel sparks. That would be pretty common. Whatever you feel is correct. But what you're feeling is the energy. You're feeling the etheric, the aura, the etheric body. That's the energy. And you know, if you walk into a room, you can tell each other's energy. There are some people that you're put off by, even repulsed by. Other people, you just gravitate toward them. Well, if people are putting out love, that draws you toward them. If they're putting out anger or fear, we tend to want to get away from them. You can experience the same thing by watching anything on television, and it's like some people, it's like, ooh, I don't like what his looks, or I don't like how he sounds, or there's a sense of that energy is not loving. There's something wrong with that energy. Or you just fall in love. And it can also be the actors. The role that the actor is playing is putting out that energy, because good actors and actresses really get into the energy of the role. So here's how we live in grace and grit. Ready? We first of all have to change our energy. We can't live in fear. That's not to say we never get angry. That's not to say we never get sad. Absolutely. You just saw my anger. And you see my sadness. But we have to bring ourselves back to that place of love. If we have to remember we are the person having the experience. We're having the emotion. We're experiencing the emotion, but we are not the emotion. So when we feel fear, just remember we're experiencing it. We're understanding what it feels like to be in fear, but we're not going to live there. What happens when we live there is it's pretty ugly. And a lot of people, unfortunately, do live there. So we have to be able to create those pathways for others to follow. And let's create pathways of love. Let's create pathways of grace. Let's create pathways through acts of love. That's what we have to do first. Change our energy so we're living in love. We can then create a pathway for others to follow. And we also, it's much easier to do acts of love if we're in a loving place. If we're in a place of fear, our acts are going to show that as well. Now, grit comes in. And we need grit in today's world. That said, let's say you get into a discussion. Thanksgiving's coming up. It's not that far away in the U.S. where families get together. And many families, one person is on this side and one person's on this side, and they, instead of getting together and being able to have a discussion, they get together and clash. Well, believe me, if this person over here is caught in fear and unable to get past that fear, and unwilling to give up this old belief system, nothing you say is going to change that. Especially if you're coming from anger. So there comes a time, whether it's with a stranger, you might be out marching, and a stranger comes up and wants to throw words of stone at you, or even real stones. Walk away. Do not engage. Simply walk away. you're not going to change anything with this person. Now, sometimes your intuition will say, it's okay, let's talk. And you can talk to these people or this person. And while you're listening, which is important, before you talk, you must listen. And while you're listening, you can silently say, bless you and bless me. Bless you and bless me. So, our mind works on multiple levels. So you can be saying that while you're listening. That will do several things. One, it'll keep you from getting angry. And so it will change your energy and let you listen with your heart, not just your emotions and your mind that's saying, because that's only going to escalate the situation. It's not going, neither of you are going to hear each other. So we have to change our energy. We walk away if we feel any kind of danger, or if we just say, it's not going to do any good to argue with this person. Or we listen with a bless you, bless me, and perhaps we can have a dialogue. The fourth is if you feel you're being abused and you need to stand your ground, you put your right hand up and you simply say, stop, enough, stop. And you stand your ground. Only do that if you're safe to do. So if it's safe, don't do that if it's not safe. You can also, if you're questioning it, somebody walks in the room and you feel uncomfortable with that person in the room. I have been in restaurants, and I live in a state that is, I think it's concealed carry and open carry. I'm not real sure really of the laws, but I will tell you, 3 times now I've been in a restaurant and someone came in with a gun on their hip. I walked out of the restaurant because that makes me feel I'm not comfortable with somebody having a gun in a restaurant unless they're in a police or a sheriff or a law enforcement uniform. If they're in a law enforcement uniform, then I know why they're carrying the gun. If it's somebody just dressed in normal clothes and they're carrying a gun, I don't understand why. They're walking into this restaurant, and it's very uncomfortable for me. And I will never understand where the right to carry a gun supersedes my right to feel comfortable. But that's another story. You can do the muscle testing. Is it safe? Is this person a little off? Do I need to leave? Do I need to warn anyone? I do have a video out there that shows the muscle testing, so I'll very quickly show you a couple, but do go check out the video. And one is you fingers like this, and then these fingers inside, so you actually have a finger 8. Can you see that all right? All right. And then you always ask your body, because everybody's body's different, but you always ask your body, show me yes. And most people, and then you pull, you're going to pull these 2 fingers and try to break this circle. Now, normally, most of us show me yes, and we don't break the circle. Show me no, and the circle automatically breaks. But again, check with your body. Women during their moon time, often the body does the opposite. So check with your body, and then you ask the question, is it safe to stay here? Should I leave? You ask it in many different ways. That's one of the easiest ways. You can also stand up, and the body tends to lean forward when you ask the question. If it's yes, it tends to lean back if it's no. But again, check with your body. So that one works very well for like food. I'm famous for bringing food home from a restaurant when I'm out with friends, and then I'm not real good about eating it immediately because I don't like the same meal twice in a row. So I may hold that food and say, will this harm my body if I eat it? Is it all right to eat this? Is this spoiled? And get my answers that way. Ask the same question several different ways. But before you ask the question, before you hold the food in your hands, you would want to check in with your body so you know which is yes and which is no for your body. Those are just a couple of quick muscle tests. Again, I have a video out there. I'll let you go look it up, or somebody else's video that talks about muscle testing. This is a week of grace and grit. It's going to be a volatile week. There's a lot, it's almost like things are bubbling up. Things are bubbling up. And I think we're going to have to be careful this week. I think even between now and the holidays at the end of December, we're going to have to be watching ourselves. So use your intuition. If you're interested, by the way, please get this. And I want to thank we're going to get a message from Philip in a minute here, but I want to first of all thank each and every one of you for coming and coming back and telling your friends. You know, I had a lot of technical problems. I was trying to hook up a microphone, and every microphone I own seems to not be working today, so I apologize for that. But I love your comments. Thank you. I appreciate your comments. I appreciate your support. You know, you would think after doing this for a couple of years, I would do it so automatically and it would be easy. But I have to talk myself into doing this, into going on camera. It's much easier for me to stand in front of a crowd of a couple hundred. So thank you so much. I appreciate you. As you know, this is Philip, my spirit guide, and this is Oracle book. Every page has a different wisdom on it, so we just kind of flip through. We have to think left page or right page. Let's get our message, shall we? Okay, so we're just going to kind of, we can open to a page like that, or you can kind of flip through and see where your thumb starts, and I'm getting right, but we'll also look at what the left page says. And the right page says, keep moving in the direction of your dreams. Keep moving in the direction of your dreams. Oh my gosh, I love that, because what we're doing in Sacred Path this year is we're trying to see how to be employees of the universe. And that's what all of us want to be looking at. How can we be employees of the universe? What is going on in the world that my heart is calling me to do? Take a look at that, my friends. What is the world asking you to do? What needs healing in the world, and what can you to do? It might be as simple as picking up your child with love when your child falls. It might be rescuing a cat out in the wilderness. It might be joining the Peace Corps. What is calling you? Keep moving in the direction of your dreams. And on the other side, which kind of goes along with this, make your art that of the heart. Make your art that of the heart. When you make your art, whatever your art is, that of the heart, it will be heard, it will be seen, it will be loved. Thank you for being with me today. And with Daisy. Here she is. I'm going to go play with her. I love you, my friends. Thank you. Grace and grit.